Is it a good decision to go to dental school and borrow private student loans after the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill post July 2026? I'm going to take a look at some detailed expenses, cost of attendance, projected loan repayment options, and more to help you figure out if you should borrow private student loans and if yes, how much. So let's take a look at two different kinds of programs. One's a high cost private school, one's a lower cost public school. ECU is the lower cost school, and then NYU is the higher cost school. Taking a look at the detailed numbers here, you can kind of see NYU's total cost about $169,000 per year, and ECU right around $92,000 per year. So if we put this into this calculator and we say, okay, let's say you're going to NYU versus ECU, 676 versus 368, and let's say you could get federal student loans at 6% and private student loans at 8%. And let's say that you could get a bachelor's degree only job for $90,000 after your bachelor's degree. Let's take a look and see what the numbers look like. So let's say you're going to ECU and you have an average income as a dentist. In our survey of dentists, the average is around $263,000. Now keep in mind that is a couple to a few years out of school. There's practice owners in that number. So, your associate number would probably be more like the 140 to 170K type number for most people. But let's say that you come out and you get to earning, about 260,000. What does the math look like? Well, you'd have two kinds of different loans. You would have federal student loans right here, and then you would have private student loans for the difference over and above the 50K a year borrowing limit. The total amount that you would end up with after graduation would be probably around 430,000. And that 430,000 would be paid back two different ways. One way would be the RAP plan, the RAP plan, if you will. It's 10% of your income. And then the secondary part of it would be private student loan repayment, around a 10-year type of repayment schedule. So if you make those two payments, the first couple of years, your federal student loan payment will be kind of low. Your private student loan payment's the same. When your payment jumps up a whole lot, your after-tax income might be 190,000 something a year, but after student loans, it's more like 140 or so. And compare that to your income without the dental degree. If you're earning 90,000 after taxes, maybe they are in that maybe 72,000, and the difference in after-tax incomes is significant. You'd make a lot more money in this scenario as a dentist, in particular while you're, when you're done paying off your private student loans. That's what this number represents down here, is when you're done paying back your private student loans. And then here's when you're done paying off all student loans. This is the additional income after taxes you make compared to your bachelor's degree only job. So becoming a dentist, if you have an average income as a dentist from a lower cost public school, basically suggests that private student loan borrowing is an excellent decision in those kinds of scenarios. If you take a look at the 25th percentile of income after graduation, you're kind of at a point in that case, if you're not, so in other words, if you're earning more of like an associate employee type of income instead of becoming a practice owner, the math sort of suggests that it's kind of a wash in some ways, compared to giving up 4 years of your life in dental school and the stress of physical toll that dentistry takes in your body. Would you want to do that? Maybe. You are significantly better off when your loans are paid off, but that may or may not be the best decision compared to just getting a bachelor's degree if you're planning to just work as an associate dentist. Now, the numbers are, of course, really good for becoming a dentist. If you're in the 75th percentile of income or above, that's mostly people becoming practice owners and owning their own businesses. You can see that the ratio of income compared to the bachelor's degree without the debt is over 2 times right after graduation. So generally speaking, it's a good deal. Now, what about if you're an average earning dentist and you go to the higher cost school? So let's say that you go to the high cost NYU program. Let's take a look at that situation. So looking at the total amount of debt that you'd have about $800,000 of total debt after graduation due to interest accumulation. Now, your federal student loan payments would be reasonable, but your private student loan payments would not be that reasonable. And your income after taxes, well, this is if you're an average earning dentist, might be 190,000, but your income after taxes and student loans would be around maybe 80 something thousand. and compare that to a bachelor's degree, you're barely better off being a dentist. And that's if you're an average earner at 263,000, which again is not something that people earn right out of dental school generally. You're earning more like 140 to 170,000 right out of dental school. So let's say instead of assuming you're earning that every single year, let's say that instead maybe you're earning 170,000 for the first several years of dental school, and then maybe finally you become a higher earner at this point here. Now, interestingly enough, that doesn't give you enough money to even live. I mean, if you take a look at the income there, if you're earning 170,000 a year with that kind of private student loans, you're living off of 20 something thousand dollars a year. That's not realistic or possible even as a dentist. So what this is sort of suggesting is that borrowing at a private dental school really doesn't make much sense financially at all with the new borrowing limits, unfortunately, unless costs come down, right? Now you might say, well, what if I'm a 75th percentile earner? Well, again, you'd have to bump these numbers up. Maybe then they would look a little bit better, but the math just does not work to borrow $600,000 for dental school anymore, not with the new borrowing limits imposed by the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. So realistically, the most that you'd probably want to borrow for dental school is probably in the neighborhood of $400,000. Above $400,000, the math starts to get pretty challenging. Realistically, if you put in 25th percentile, this is like that 170K type income. That's not a bad associated income at all. And if you're borrowing $400,000, you're getting to the point where while you're paying your loans off, you will be worse off than somebody that just went and got a bachelor's degree. So for example, if I go in here and I put in $400,000 for dental school, then suddenly we're, either barely equivalent to somebody with just a bachelor's degree or a little worse off. And that's not something you want to do after sacrificing 4 years of your life in dental school, essentially to have most all of your disposable income or a whole bunch of your disposable income going just to paying down loans. So that sort of suggests that the crazy new world of student loan borrowing is that, public schools for dental school are worth going to and are worth attending and getting a degree from. And the higher cost private dental schools that were charging an arm and a leg due to the existence of the Grad Plus program are no longer good deals. Financially speaking, it's just not worth it. Perhaps you can make an argument if you were going to become a practice owner that it might be worth it, but just with the new math and the caps on borrowing and the lower income that dentists earn than, for example, physicians on average, there's certainly a lot of some dentists that earn far more than physicians on average. But in general, if you graduate and are a solid but average dentist with your earning potential, you should only go to a school like a public school like an ECU under the new borrowing rules and not the private dental schools unless they're willing to substantially discount this sky-high cost of attendance. If you have any questions about dental school borrowing, put it in the comments or just reach out to us at Student Loan Planner, send us an email, and check out our website. We can help you repay your dental school loans and plan for dental school smarter. Just reach out to us to learn more.